On this week's episode of Ride the Lightning, the Tesla unofficial podcast, fresh rumors about the new Model 3 Ludicrous give us its alleged release date as well as its specs. Plus, Tesla is sweetening the deal if you take delivery of a new car this quarter. Tesla executives Franz von Holzhausen and Lars Moravy visit Jay Leno's garage, and more. What's happening, friends? I'm Ryan McCaffrey, joining you alongside Daisy the Boxer, who is currently looking longingly out the window, out onto the street, after we just got back from a nice long walk. Relaxing. Well, she gets to relax. I get to do a podcast, which I am happy to do. Welcome to your weekly Tesla podcast. It is Ride the Lightning. This is episode 449 for March 10th, 2024. I start with this appetizer for you, and that is, might the Tesla fleet finally get watch key support, smartwatch support, at least for Apple Watch? Well, Elon Musk replied to a post by listener Danielle, who asked, "Not sure why the car can't be unlocked using an Apple Watch or other smartwatch. Any chance this could be incorporated?" And Elon did reply to this when she tagged him, and he said, "Sure." So, will that actually come to fruition with the one-word answer of sure? There's a decent chance. History tells us there's a decent chance. Not every tweet that he says sure or okay to actually ends up turning into a feature, but I would say they do at least as often as they don't. And if it does go onto the Tesla software team's feature queue, it's obviously going to take some amount of time to get done, especially depending on what priority level that it's assigned when it goes onto that feature queue. I mean, we've seen so many feature suggestions on X that Elon says yes to that take weeks, and then we've seen plenty of other ones that take years. It just kind of depends on the feature and I guess, again, how it's prioritized. But regardless, I think it would be nice to have a smartwatch key as just a nice backup to your phone key and to your key card if you're not carrying it. I have an Apple Watch myself, which I've been very much enjoying. And plenty of folks out there like their smartwatch as well. So fingers crossed we do get to see this rolled out. Maybe optimistically, well, optimistically would be at all, but really optimistically, hopefully it happens sometime later this year. Now, I was curious how all of you felt on this subject, so I made this the topic of this week's Patreon poll, which again, you can vote on without having to back me on Patreon. There's no cost to the poll each week. You just go to my Patreon page, which is patreon.com/Tesla podcast. The poll usually goes up on Tuesday evenings, and this week's poll question was simply, would you be interested in smartwatch support for the Tesla app? 51% of you said, I'd use it all the time. 17% of you were at the other end saying either I couldn't care less / I don't have a smartwatch. Another 17% said it'd be nice to have as a backup if I don't have my phone with me. 10% of you said if it can do cool stuff like this, and these were just my thoughts that I put into the poll here, like let me give voice commands to my car to set the climate temperature, etc. I'm in. So that was 10% of you went that way. And then just 4% of you said, I'm not really sure what I'd use this for. So the Ride the Lightning audience expressing some strong support for this feature. Now, several of you in the comments did point out that there are third-party apps that do allow this functionality, but as some other folks pointed out, that, not everybody's comfortable with allowing access to your Tesla account to a third-party app. And there's most of them, at least the ones that I've been affiliated with in the past, which I think the one that comes to mind is Teslab. They use an authentication, like a very secure setup, and hopefully all of the other ones that people are talking about do as well. But I do very much understand and respect that concern as well. Therefore, it would really be nice if Tesla offered an official first-party smartwatch solution. So we shall see if it happens. Another little nugget to start the week here. If you're in Texas and you're interested in getting one of Tesla's official PPF wraps on your car in different colors, good news for you. Tesla posted this on X this past week saying, wraps for Model 3 and Y and Cybertruck now available at our Austin South Collision location. So just a little public service announcement there for those of you in or around the Austin area that might have an interest in one of Tesla's different colored PPF wraps. Next this week, as we continue to warm up, Tesla is continuing to pull demand levers here in the traditionally slow Q1. They are now offering up to 10,000 free supercharging miles with your trade-in and purchase, not just, it can't be a lease here, of a new car. So you'll still get 5,000 free supercharging miles even if you're not trading in. So as long as you buy a new Tesla and take delivery of it this quarter, you'll get 5,000 free supercharging miles. But if you're also trading in, you'll get an additional 5,000 miles. So here are the details from Tesla. Customers who take delivery of a new Model S, X, or Y, the 3 is exempt here, by March 31st are eligible for 5,000 miles of free supercharging on their new vehicle. Customers who trade in a vehicle by March 31st, 2024 will receive 5,000 miles of free supercharging when leasing a new vehicle, or a total of 10,000 free supercharging miles for cash or finance purchases. Supercharging miles, this is important, will expire 2 years after the date of delivery. Tesla does not guarantee availability or delivery by March 31st and will not grant exceptions. Free supercharging is tied to your Tesla account and cannot be transferred to another order, vehicle, or person, even in the case of an ownership transfer. Tesla lease returns do not qualify as a trade-in. Cybertruck, used vehicles, and business orders are not eligible for this supercharging promotion. Promotion is subject to change, blah, blah, blah. You get the rest. So there you go. There is a little bit of goodies to be had if you are leasing, but Tesla dialing up another demand lever here. Now, a Redditor calculated the value of this to like a couple $100 or so, which isn't nothing, but it's a nice little bonus if you're buying a new Tesla this quarter that isn't the new Model 3. And I was talking to my wife about this on the dog walk that we just came back from. I'm not sure I've ever seen Tesla pull as many demand levers at the same time as they are doing right now. And I wonder, I'm not here to be all doom and gloom. That's not what I'm all about. I'm here enthusiastically doing a weekly Tesla podcast about these cars and this company that I'm really enthusiastic about. But I think it is reasonable to pull back to that 10,000 foot view and go, is it looking like a soft quarter this quarter? Now, Q1 always used to be Tesla's super soft quarter, and then it would ramp up as the year went on. And really, it still does that for the most part, but the last couple years of extreme growth, they've been exempt from that. That Q1 would be bigger than Q4, which was bigger than Q3, and it's just continued to ramp. But it seems like maybe we should prepare ourselves mentally for the quarterly production and delivery numbers, which we're going to get here in less than 30 days. Let's see, 1, 2, 3. I mean, we're 3.5 weeks away from getting those numbers as of me recording this, more like 3 as you hear it. So we should probably prepare ourselves for the possibility that this quarter might be relatively soft, certainly compared to the last one, Q4 of 2023, and perhaps even to 1 or 2 quarters previous to that as well. I mean, you look at this quarter, you've got this up to 10,000 miles of free supercharging demand lever. You've got the Cybertruck discount. If you have a Cybertruck on your account, that's $1,000 off. You've got the return of FSD transfer and free lifetime supercharging transfer. And I feel like I'm leaving one out now, too, that I didn't put in my notes. But just a lot of demand levers being pulled at the same time here by Tesla. So we'll keep an eye on this and see how this quarter turns out. Now, Q2, which I'll talk more about in just a few minutes here, in fact, less than that, just about a minute from now, Q2 should see the launch of the Model 3 Ludicrous, which on some level is probably going to goose sales a little bit, because there are going to be, if this car can do what I'm about to talk about, then it's probably going to goose some interest from both legacy Model 3 owners who are looking to upgrade, as well as new owners who see the numbers on this thing and go, whoa, I need to have that because that is a killer value. But first, I want to mention that if you are very kindly and generously backing me on Patreon, which again you can do at patreon.com/Tesla Podcast, you can listen to this week's lightning round mini episode if you're at that $10 per month tier or higher, which this one was about comparing the Model S Plaid to the Model 3 Performance, the top-end S to the top-end 3. I had a chance recently to get together with Michael Gallo, one of the longtime listener and a friend, a kind Patreon backer, who took advantage of FSD transfer in Q4 and went ahead and traded his FSD over, I should say, moved it over to a new Model S Plaid, and he wanted to get together to do his first Plaid launches, which we had a great time doing. So I used that as an opportunity to talk a little bit more about the Model S Plaid, because it's been a 2.5, almost 3 years since I've driven one. And boy, it reminded me of a lot of really fun things. So I thought that was a fun little just comparison of, just head to head. What are these two cars? Obviously the Plaid's better, but what's the head to head? So check that out on Patreon if you're interested. And again, if you are willing and able, if this is the week where hopefully I win you over and you go, you know what? Yes, Ryan, this is the time. I'm going to back you on Patreon. I really enjoy the podcast. Then you'll not only get access to the current week's lightning round mini episode, if you're at that $10 per month tier or higher, you'll get access to the entire archive. And there are now 85 episodes, so there are a lot of these mini episodes in there for you. Don't forget the 10% discount there as well if you just want to pledge once for the year. And I have the free 7-day trial option on that $10 per month tier if you'd just like to try it out. So again, all of that is at patreon.com/Tesla Podcast. Okay, let's talk about the Model 3 Ludicrous. We've got fresh new rumors about it, the first of which comes courtesy of vehiclesuggest.com. Now, ordinarily, I would be extremely skeptical given that I've never heard of this website before, and as far as I know, they don't have much of a track record with Tesla rumors, good or bad. But what gave them some credibility here, or at least legitimized them in this instance in my eyes, they posted a photo that they say that their Tesla source sent them, the photo, of a Ludicrous badge, the new Ludicrous badge, the flag that goes on the back of the car on the trunk lid, just in its bag, like from the actual part in its bag. And that, okay, like, could you have faked that? Sure, I guess technically you could have gone to the trouble to fake that, but it seems pretty authentic to me. So here we go. What's the report? Well, I'm not sure that the post was in English first, if it was a translated thing. So it's a little not super straightforward. So I've tried my best to clean it up and summarize Vehicle Suggest's post here. So, quote, Tesla hasn't released its fancier top-tier Model 3 Performance, and it's been delayed for about 6 months. Our insider reveals that Tesla Fremont sent 20 engineers to help the China Shanghai plant division fix the problems with new motors' adaptability. You kind of see where I'm coming from there with it. It's not the smoothest flow here, but you'll get the information. We'll get there. We can also confirm that the Model 3 Performance trim Ludicrous will have a fresh set of electric motors. We can also confirm a Q2 launch, hinting it to be somewhere in May, given there might still be some suitability issues with the motor they're referring to there. However, recent frequent sightings of Tesla testing the Model 3 Ludicrous could mean an early May launch. So there have allegedly been some issues with new motor adaptability, which I admit, they don't explain what that means, and I'm not quite sure what that means. I don't know if it's just dialing in the new motor to get it, get the everything where Tesla wants it in terms of both performance and reliability, if that's what they're referring to there. But then they also cite the suspension as well. So in and of itself, if this report is accurate, would suggest that the suspension is different on the Ludicrous than on the base and the long-range Model 3s. And if that's the case, that would be a change from the old Model 3s, which all had the same suspension setup with a little asterisk on there, except for the first 2 or maybe it was 3 years of the Performance Model 3, which had the same suspensions, except those cars, and mine is one of them, were set 1 centimeter lower in ride height. So really not much at all. 1 centimeter lower. That was the only difference in the suspension setup on the original Model 3 Performance. And the 2 new motors, well, that's a new tidbit. Stay tuned for the next rumor about that. And that does somewhat corroborate the previous rumor that it would use a front motor from the Model S Plaid. Again, not a new motor per se, but it would be new for the Model 3. And then, well, what about the rear motor? So again, hang on for just a second. But if the general, all of this, or some of this, proves to be correct, then there is simply no way, in my humble opinion, that the Model 3 Ludicrous isn't getting a notable performance bump. I mean, the old Model 3 Performance has the same motors as the non-performance old Model 3s did. It's just got more power unlocked via software. It's just dialed up higher. The Ludicrous having at least one completely unique motor would be super awesome. Before I talk more about that on the next rumor, let's address the May timeline. If that's accurate, that would be later than the March rumor that we had previously heard, that I've previously talked about here on the podcast. But if indeed there have been some last-minute issues delaying the launch of the car, well, then May would make perfect sense. It'd still be, even if May ends up being when it comes out, that would still be a much shorter wait than the original Model 3 Performance, which didn't come out until a full year after the Model 3 first launched. And so we wait for a couple more months to find out what this baby Plaid can really do. Oh, and did I say a couple months? I mean, well, let's learn a little bit more right now. This was not the only Model 3 Ludicrous information this week. If this leak from a South Korean regulatory agency is correct, we've now got some specs as well. Not performance numbers, to be clear, but specs on the motors, which are still nevertheless very interesting. I first saw this posted on Drive Tesla Canada, so I want to tip my cap there, though the ultimate source was ex-user Julian. So, what have we got? Summing up, a new rear motor labeled the 4D2, and it has that, and I'm just talking about the rear motor alone, has 406 horsepower, up from the previous generation Model 3 Performance's 298 horsepower in the rear motor. The 212 horsepower 3D3 motor is in the front of this Ludicrous, which is the same front motor that the new long-range dual motor Model 3 has. So the Highland, the new Highland. So if you add those up, the grand total, allegedly, in the Model 3 Ludicrous is 618 horsepower, more than 20% more than the outgoing Model 3 Performance's 505 horsepower. Can we just pause here for a second? Because again, you all know, if you've been listening to this podcast for a bit, you know how much I love my Model 3 Performance, how I'm so grateful to have it, how I'm so glad that back in 2018 that I waited for it, that I had I thank my past self for having the patience after having waited so long for the Model 3 for it to have come out, and I had the chance to buy it, and I said, no, I'm waiting for the performance version, and I'm so glad that I did, because the Model 3 performance has just been such a treat. And I love that car. It still just makes me smile every time I take it out. I love it. And it's, as you heard, about 505 horsepower. Well, the new Model 3 Ludicrous is purportedly a 618 horsepower mid-size car that's almost certainly going to cost less, cost less than $60,000. I could be wrong. It could be priced higher than that, but I seriously doubt it. I think the odds are extremely high that this car will be under $60,000. That is nuts in the very best of ways. 618 horsepower. All right, let's move on. Let's get back to it. More about this car from this South Korean regulatory filing leak. The power does not peak until about 68 miles per hour, which again, we have context for because that is compared to the old Model 3 performance where the power peaked at about 45 miles per hour. So that means this car, the Model 3 Ludicrous, should not only have a bigger kick at launch from 0, it should definitely pull harder for longer. In other words, do exactly what I've been hoping that this car is going to do. Will it be a baby plaid? Well, it's still only got 2 motors, of course, not 3. But if this thing pulls hard up to, say, 75, 80 miles per hour before you start to feel it tail off, it's going to just feel awesome. Awesome. Even more awesome than my car still does after 5.5 years. This thing just sounds like an absolute treat. Now, we don't have the 0 to 60 number. We don't have the 0 to 100 number. We don't have the quarter mile number. Those are going to have to wait at least a little while longer. So I'm going to guess, based on this new information, if it's accurate, I'm going to guess that the 0 to 60 time on the Model 3 Ludicrous is 2.8 seconds. And that would compare to 3.1 seconds on my car, and obviously 1.99 seconds on the Plaid Model S. So place your bets. We should find out these last numbers in the next couple of months, but this car is sounding better and better, more and more exciting, more and more fun. I can't wait to drive it. I can't wait for it to come out. This is going to be great. Next up this week, Tesla superfan Jay Leno had the Tesla executives on speed dial. Clearly, he just texted Franz and said, hey, you want to come back on the show? And, well, Franz brought Lars with him again, as he had recently, to talk about the Tesla Semi, and then they had the Cybertruck episode. So Franz and Lars went back on Jay Leno's garage with the new Model 3, and they brought an ultra red one with them. Now, as you may know, Jay Leno is a Model S Plaid owner. That's Jay's daily driver. And Jay had an older Model S before his Plaid. And interestingly, from watching the entire episode, it seems like this episode might have been Jay's first time spending any real time at all with a Model 3. Now, if I'm being honest, I'll tell you that there's nothing really new or noteworthy in this interview that you don't already know from listening to this podcast, from following Tesla and the new Model 3. But I did grab a couple of quick clips to play for you, nevertheless, that I found interesting. The first clip is Jay and Franz and Lars talking about refueling times on EVs and where that's going in the future.
How far away do you think we are from essentially a 2 or 3 minute fill up for electric cars?
Yeah, so DC fast charging, that's a big thing, especially in countries that are starting to adopt more and more electric vehicles. Like China has, 25-30% of their vehicles are electric. Norway is getting up there. And, we're always trying to improve supercharging. I think that it all comes down to efficiency again, because even if you throw 1,000 volts, in with 350 kilowatts, best case in an hour, like that's 35 kilowatts an hour.
Right.
350 kilowatts an hour.
Right.
So if you have a 50 kilowatt hour battery, it takes 1/7 of an hour if you can put all the energy in at one time. And really, like, the key to fast charging is making it more and more efficient so you have less batteries to fill.
Right.
I know my opinion doesn't mean much here because I'm not the guy that has to actually build it and make it happen. That would be Lars's job. But for what it's worth, I have no doubt, none whatsoever, that Tesla is going to get us down to at least 10-minute refueling. And I'll bet they do it sooner rather than later. I mean, they have the Tesla Semi, and that gives them real-world motivation and opportunity to work on the problem in a really fast, like just fire hosing the electrons into the vehicles. They also have the best fast charging network on the planet and the best fast chargers in the form of the new V4 superchargers. And they have, best of all, insanely talented people working on this stuff. They are going to get us there. All right, and then this other clip, this second clip that I wanted to play for you, it came right at the end of the video. Jay, bless his heart, I love you, Jay, asks the question that I've been asking for years.
Let me know when my Roadster's going to be done, will you? I've been waiting for that thing for 5 years.
Back to work, Franz.
Both of us as well.
But it's going to have incredible performance.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
It'll be worth the wait.
Yeah, any secret you can give away? No. Okay, all right, I'll wait. We'll see. But
gets better. Always gets better.
It should be about the fastest thing out here, safe to say.
Yeah, it gets better with age.
It gets better with age. All right. I wish I did.
I know there was really nothing of substance said there. I just enjoyed that. And I guess for context, I'll add that this was filmed before Elon's tweet storm last week about the Roadster. In fact, elsewhere in the episode, there's a reference to Valentine's Day, so I'm guessing it was filmed like 3-4 weeks ago. But anyway, thank you, Jay, for asking about the Roadster on behalf of all of us who care about that car, since Jay has access to these guys in a way that I rarely do. Anyway, if you'd like to watch the full episode of Franz, Lars, and Jay checking out the new Model 3, just go to the Jay Leno's Garage channel on YouTube. Next up this week, here's a weird story, and sadly in a not good way. EVs have been banned from the Good Guys 2024 Autocross event, seemingly for, get this, being too fast. Thank you to the aforementioned listener Michael Gallo, who sent me this story. It was written up by Teslarati, and they used posts on X from the Tesla Owners Club New England, as well as from Ben, our friend at Unplugged Performance. So here's a snippet of the situation. As noted by Tesla driver John Bickford, whose Model 3 was outfitted with upgraded wheels, suspension, and brakes from EV tuning house Unplugged Performance, he ended up being banned from the Good Guys 2024 Autocross event. What's ironic is that Bickford's Model 3 previously performed very well at the event, winning 5 out of 5 shootouts last year. Quote, well, after setting the fastest time of the show 5 out of 5 events and winning 5 out of 5 shootouts last year, it looks like Good Guys decided to ban me a couple weeks before the season, the Model 3 driver noted, as shared by Unplugged Performance. Interestingly enough, Bickford noted that he was also banned from competing in the Hot Rod Power Tour West Autocross event. The Model 3 owner noted that his ban was quite strange since his exhibition lap was faster than the rest of the field. His ban was also announced after he had already driven to the Hot Rod Power Tour West Autocross's location. Quote, I also got banned from competing in the Hot Rod Power Tour West Autocross. They let me run exhibition laps. I was .626 faster than the rest of the field, but not eligible to compete. They made that decision after I left San Diego at 4 a.m. and drove to Vegas Motor Speedway, Bickford noted. Well, journalistically, I have to say that this is one side of the story. We do owe it to those autocross organizations to give their side of the story, which we don't have today. But on the surface, it's certainly a really bad look for both Good Guys and Hot Rod Power Tour West. Now, with all due respect to John Bickford, who I do very genuinely feel bad for because all he wanted to do was have some fun with his car, and he drove all the way from San Diego to Vegas only to be prevented from competing, I have to say I can't help but laugh at this situation a little bit because it's nothing to do with John, who I do feel bad for. I laugh because the goalposts just keep moving. Remember when EVs could only go fast in a straight line? It's like, oh, well, they're no good on a track. And then remember when it was, oh, well, they can only do one lap before the battery overheats and they can't go anymore. Well, and now look where we are. We're being prevented from competing at all because EVs can and do win over and over on the same day, on the same track. So I genuinely hope that all of these organizations come to their senses and realize that EVs are inevitable. Let's all compete on the same playing field and see who wins. That's it. Let's see it. All right, next this week. Here's another weird story, sadly also in a really not good way. The last one was not good. This one's really not good. Tesla Giga Berlin was forced to halt operations this past week following a suspected arson attack at a nearby power substation. This story comes via Reuters, who writes, Tesla's European gigafactory near Berlin has halted work until further notice after what CEO Elon Musk called an, quote, extremely dumb suspected arson attack nearby left it without power. The attack southeast of the German capital set an electricity pylon close to the site ablaze, but the fire did not spread to the Tesla facility. It has, however, shuttered production at least until early next week, meaning now this week, the company said. The outage will cost Tesla estimated losses in the high hundred of million euros, with 1,000 vehicles left unfinished on Tuesday, this past week, which is when this happened, on Tuesday alone. A company official was non-committal on whether this would affect plans to double capacity at the site, but condemned what he saw as negative sentiment towards it. Emergency services have extinguished the blaze, and power to the surrounding communities has mostly been restored. Jörg Steinbach, the economy minister of Brandenburg, the German state where Tesla's plant is based, condemned the suspected attack as having, quote, terrorist markings and hitting tens of thousands of people. Quote, this includes hospitals, homes for the elderly, where people may also be dependent on oxygen supply or similar, which is electricity-based, he said at a briefing outside the factory. Local media published a letter purportedly from an activist organization called the Volcano Group that claimed responsibility for the incident in a 2,500-word attack on Tesla and its billionaire CEO Musk. Police said they were aware of the letter, which was signed Agua de Pau, the nickname of a volcanic mountain in the Azores, pardon me if I'm mispronouncing that, and said they were checking its authenticity. Quote, these are either the dumbest eco-terrorists on Earth or they're puppets of those who don't have good environmental goals, Musk said. Stopping production of electric vehicles rather than fossil fuel vehicles ist extrem dumm, he said, using the German phrase for extremely dumb. And that's it for the Reuters piece. And for my part, I'm in agreement with Elon on this one because he's right. Your goals are seriously misguided if you're trying to stop Tesla, the company whose literal entire mission statement is to transition the world to sustainable transport. And here's the thing, it's not just a mission statement at this point. It's 2024, and Tesla has the receipts for this. They have shown their work. The vehicle production, the solar, by the way, 5 million plus vehicles now. The solar panels, the solar roof tiles, the power walls, the mega packs. Now, my understanding, and that's all it is I can't say this with total factual accuracy, but it's my understanding, is that the germ of this, sort of the source of this eco-terrorism, if you want to call it that, as the German minister did, is that Giga Berlin, it's about water usage at Giga Berlin. At least as far as the environmental groups protesting this are concerned. But, as has been pointed out before, Giga Berlin uses far less water than other German automotive plants. So, to me, it's all just a shame not only that Tesla is targeted in the first place, despite trying to do the right thing on a macro level, but that innocent citizens and neighbors have to suffer from because of the actions of these, again, to use the term that Brandenburg's own economy minister used, terrorists. That's what this was, a terrorist action. Now, to put a cap on all this, before I move on to the next story, I want to read you a rather lengthy post on X from Rohan Patel. He's Tesla's head of policy. And he laid out if a lot of, I guess we call them Tesla's environmental credentials, if you will. And so I think this helps put a lot of this into context. He said, "Our Giga Berlin team sent me a long list of public facts, so I thought I'd share a few of them. The entire point of Tesla is to create innovative zero-emissions products and accelerate sustainable energy/transport. But in order to do that well, we also focus on creating the most sustainable factories, along with a culture to do the right thing in our community." And now it's just a list of bullet points. So here we go. Giga Berlin's per vehicle production only takes 2.28 cubic meters of water, 33% less than the industry average, which is 3.68 cubic meters. We recycle up to 100% of our industrial water. We have over 8 megawatts of installed solar capacity and source renewable electricity. Afforestation for Gigafactory Berlin's current site is even faster than construction. 300 hectares of high-quality forest, greater than 60% of hardwood, have been planted. I don't know if it's hectares. That's right. I can never remember the pronunciation on that. Anyway, continuing. In the nearby area, the team has helped ecologically improve 340 hectares, we're just going with that, of existing forest through underplanting hardwood, making Grünheide, Spreenhagen, and Gosen Neu Zittau forests more diverse. Zittau, sorry, I'm forgetting my German from high school here for a second. Gosen Neu Zittau forests more diverse and therefore more resilient. We incentivize a sustainable lifestyle. 45% of our employees commute by public transport. Our shuttle train has a daily passenger volume of over 3,000 and is free of charge. Tesla Charging has installed over 500 wall connectors at the site. We think it's the world's largest charging park. More than 12,000 people work at Giga Berlin. 1,500 of them were unemployed, and another approximately 700 of them were long-term unemployed. We partner with 13 different schools, and we are the biggest apprenticeship employer in Brandenburg. Grünheide is only beginning to benefit from Gigafactory Berlin. In 2022, the year the factory started production, 6 million euros in trade taxes were paid to the municipality. And the local agency achieved the local region, I should say, achieved the highest GDP growth rate of all non-city states in Germany in the first half of the year in 2023, in large part due to Tesla's direct and indirect economic impact. And finally, the Giga team is supporting a long list of community impact projects through volunteer efforts and partnerships with local youth clubs and associations. So thank you, Rohan, for posting all of that. And it's just, again, I think it just hammers home you're targeting the wrong organization here. It is a shame what that Giga Berlin had to get shut down, and the surrounding area was negatively impacted as well. All right, let's end on a more positive note, shall we? Tesla is talking with the Thailand government about a potential gigafactory there, according to an official from the country's prime minister office. One more tip of the cap to Teslarati, which is where I saw this one, and they write, Tesla and Thailand have discussed a potential partnership for several years, and the parties have been establishing a more serious relationship, meeting and discussing the potential for Gigafactory Thailand. Things are evidently moving in the right direction, as Thai government officials are saying that Tesla is considering building a production facility somewhere in the country. This past week, an official confirmed that it could be for EVs or batteries. The report follows several visits between Tesla and Thai officials, especially in late 2023. Last year, Tesla hosted Prime Minister Shreta Thavisin at its Fremont factory in Northern California, where he and Lars Moravy took a picture on top of a Cybertruck. It was not the only meeting between Tesla and Thailand last year, as the Prime Minister said in an interview in November that the EV maker would be sending officials to the country to inspect potential factory locations. The Prime Minister also met with Elon Musk in September in New York, where they discussed Tesla, SpaceX, and Starlink, he said. Thailand has a robust automotive manufacturing industry currently, and is the largest producer and exporter of vehicles in the region of Southeast Asia. However, it is working toward transitioning to more support of the EV sector, as it wants to become the main EV production location for companies. Thank you to Teslarati on that. It sounds like things are getting pretty serious here. At least from Thailand's side. I guess, we don't know how Tesla feels about it, because at this point, publicly anyway, Tesla's keeping its cards close to its chest. Now remember, it wasn't long ago that South Korea was seemingly in pretty advanced talks to get a gigafactory deal done, and that didn't happen, or at least hasn't happened. So we'll see what happens. I mean, it certainly one way or the other makes sense for Tesla to have a presence in that region of the world, be it to build cars, build batteries, or both. So stay tuned. We shall see if Giga Thailand becomes a thing here sometime in 2024, pardon me. And that is everything that I've got for you in the week of Tesla news. Stick with me, though. Your phone calls are coming up in the Ride the Lightning hotline right after this.
Hi, this is Franz von Holzhausen, and you're listening to Ride the Lightning with Ryan McCaffrey, the Tesla unofficial podcast.
Before I get to your phone calls in the Ride the Lightning hotline, I want to remind you that this episode is brought to you in part by my friends at Accelerate Auto and their XCare EV warranty, extended warranty policy. I got a nice note from listener and Patreon backer Christopher Michael Jennings this week saying that he was used the discount code Lightning, got the $100 off his extended warranty policy, and had some nice things to say about the experience. So Christopher, thank you so much for that. And if you would like an extended warranty on your Tesla, well, XCare is right there for you because it's very flexible, and it's probably better than Tesla's own extended warranty in the sense that A, it's more flexible, and B, it does everything Tesla's does and more. So, if you do Tesla's 2-year, 25,000-mile extended warranty option, which you have to buy before your factory warranty is up, that's not the case with Accelerate Auto and XCare. But Tesla has a $100 deductible and 24/7 roadside assistance, which is great. XCare matches that and offers rental reimbursement and trip interruption coverage on top of that, which is pretty cool. So whether you want to go for an extra 3 years, like I have on my car, or an extra 10 years, up to another 125,000 miles if you want to do it, check them out, accelerateauto.com/xcare. The discount code is Lightning for $100 off. And Accelerate Auto, it's spelled XCELERATE ERATEAUTO.com/XCARE. All right, time for the Ride the Lightning hotline. Your questions, your comments, your discussion topics. If you would like to call in, I welcome and invite you to do so. There are two easy ways to do that. Either use your smartphone's built-in voice recording software, record your question. Please try to keep it to 90 seconds or less so that I can get to as many people each week as possible. And then just email that file to me at my podcast email address, which is teslapodcast@gmail.com. Or you can take that same 90-second or less question and call in and leave a message anytime, day or night, on the Ride the Lightning hotline. It's a toll-free number, and it's 1-888-989-8752. Again, that's 1-888-989-TSLA. And if you know someone special with an upcoming birthday, anniversary, graduation, or some other special occasion, you can give them a unique gift of recorded voices from friends and family telling them why they're special. The recordings can be podcasted like I do with them, or put onto a keepsake. Visit lifeonrecord.com to learn more. We start this week with Blake from Los Angeles.
Hey, Ryan, this is Blake from Los Angeles. I was just listening to your latest podcast mentioning about the quote-unquote Tesla-tar, and I think that this is an excellent idea. I feel like Tesla would be able to categorize the type of driving that they're accumulating over this long period of time that they have been doing this. And while I think that we can all agree that not every driver is completely unique, that we all have pretty similar driving styles. Some, more aggressive than others, some more chill than others, which is probably why they have all the different types the three different types of FSD on there. But maybe there's a way that they can categorize those types of driving styles, and Tesla can learn from how you're actually driving and try to adapt it to something that they actually have in their database. Anyway, just thought that was a really awesome idea, and that would definitely get me into trying out FSD a bit more, and maybe eventually a purchase. But yeah, great podcast. Keep up the good work. Thanks.
Blake, thank you for the call and the feedback. I like your modification of the idea to tailor your driving preferences and habits within the three existing categories, or maybe call them archetypes, if you will. That would keep things cleaner and clearer to the end user and still let you very clearly select how aggressive you'd like FSD to be. I admit I hadn't even considered the part that if Tesla can successfully pull off making the Tesla-tars, as I called them, that it might convince a lot of people to sign up for FSD. Great point there. Great point. Thank you again for taking the time to call in. Next up, we go one state to the east and talk to Chris from Arizona.
Hey, Ryan, this is Chris in Arizona, longtime listener, longtime fan of Daisy the Boxer Puppy, and longtime Tesla owner. And I have a comment. My next-door neighbor, he's a car collector, and he has a Tesla Model 3, 2018 Model 3, and he has several cars, really nice old antique cars. And hot rods. And he wanted the Cybertruck so bad. But when the range came out for the Cybertruck and it wasn't 500 miles, he canceled his order and he went and bought himself a big old Dodge pickup. And it bummed me out. And I said, why did you do that? He goes, well, the range isn't there. And so I was like, wouldn't it be cool? Because you don't need that range every day. You just need it to get from Washington State to Arizona and then to haul a trailer around town when he buys his cars at Bear Jackson Auto Auction. And so I thought, wouldn't it be nice to be able to just rent a battery? Like, you got a big old bed in the back of the truck. He doesn't want to put a lot of stuff back there. If on a long trip you just were able to go into your service center and plug in a big battery pack in the back, and then when you get to the service center in the other state, Washington, return it. He said I would pay to rent that. He goes, that's a great idea. Pass that along to whoever you know. And you're who I know, so I'm passing it along. Wouldn't it be cool if Cybertrucks were able to, hey, I need an extra 200 miles of range. Go in and plug in a big battery pack in the bed, and then take it out when you don't need it at the service center, of course. Anyway, that's my thought. All right, talk to you later. Bye.
Thanks, Chris. Yes, that would definitely be cool and smart on Tesla's part. The range extender is coming towards the end of this year, last we were told, and it's going to add 130 miles of range to the dual motor, totaling 470 miles of estimated range on that one. The Cyber Beast will go up to approximately 440 miles with that range of extender. Lots of folks have expressed a desire to rent it rather than pay the full $16,000 freight to own it forever and have it take up a third of your bed forever in your truck. So I certainly have to imagine that Tesla's taking a long, hard look at a rental program for both road trip and hauling needs with the range extender. Fingers crossed that they'll roll that out as soon as the range extender is released towards the end of this year. Thanks, Chris. Let's go next to David T. from Syracuse, talking more Cybertruck.
Hey, Ryan. This is David T. from Syracuse, New York. Fourth-time caller, long-time listener. Question for you. For customers who recently took delivery of their Cybertruck without the original wheel covers, if there's any word on if Tesla will send them out for free to the customers who may have already taken delivery without them, or if if anybody out in the community knows in the Tesla Cybertruck world, does anybody know if they're actually working on a fix? I'm just curious. I am a fan of the actual rims that have been delivering without the wheel covers. Don't get me wrong, but I really did enjoy those wheel covers. I just think they look a little. I guess I'm very biased, but I like those wheel covers. But as a reservation holder from June 20th of 2022, who's counting? I don't know. I was just curious if anyone had any idea if those would come back into the fray. But thanks, Ryan. Love everything you do. Big fan. Take care.
Hey, David. Thanks for calling in. I personally think that the Aero wheel covers really finish the look of the Cybertruck, for me. And the owners who've been taking delivery without those Aero covers, while Tesla either resupplies them or tweaks the design of them, remember, there are no credible reports either way at this point. We just know that nobody's getting them. No new deliveries are getting them right now. But that absolutely, I can say 100%, those owners who have taken delivery without them are going to get their Aero covers. Tesla will notify them when they're in stock, and then I suspect that those owners will either schedule a service appointment or maybe a mobile service appointment will bring them to the customer and install them on their truck. For a little historical example here, because this is hardly the first time that Tesla has delivered vehicles that are missing pieces that are supposed to be on it, cosmetic pieces, or I know Aero wheel covers aren't entirely cosmetic, they do serve an aerodynamic function, but go with me on this. When I took delivery of my car, which, as you've probably annoyingly heard me say a million times at this point, it was one of the very first Performance Model 3s. Back then, the carbon fiber spoilers weren't ready yet. And when they were, 7 months later, a mobile service technician came and installed. In fact, if I remember correctly, I think they came to my office. They came to my job, just down into the parking garage at the time, and it did it right there. And I showed up to work without a spoiler, and I left work that day with my carbon fiber spoiler. But anyway, hopefully we will get an update on the Cybertruck's Aero wheel cover situation soon. All right, I've got time for one more call. It's from regular caller Robert from Texas, talking Roadster.
Hey, Ryan, it's Robert from Texas. I've got a little bit different point of view on the Roadster, what the offerings are and the prices. And you know Tesla as much as anybody, so really wanted to get your ideas on this. First thought was, I don't think the SpaceX package is going to be very cheap. I think it's going to be $350,000 to $400,000 car. Second thing is, there's a lot of people that put deposits on the car when it was, quote, 200,000. And there's a lot of people who've won free cars because of referrals, including yourself. And so I was thinking that Tesla would produce a base model, because if they don't, then every single person who put a deposit down 5-6 years ago basically has to decide if they want to pay double for the car, which I don't think many people are going to want to do. There will be some. And two is everybody who won the referral, they've got to provide double the cost of a car or double the price of a car for free, which doesn't make much sense to me. I think they'll offer a base model, hopefully that's at 250. Maybe it's slightly higher. But I was also hoping for those people like myself who put a pretty significant deposit down 5-6 years ago, Tesla would keep that $200,000 price. Anyway, and then also offer the SpaceX model at $350,000 or $400,000 as the greatest car in the world. Anyway, wanted your ideas on that. If you thought all that was possible, maybe I'm dreaming. Definitely, if SpaceX car is only one available, I'm going to have to get my deposit back, I guess. Thank you. Bye.
Robert, it's always a pleasure to hear from you. I could very easily be wrong. Again, it might just be wishful thinking on my part that every Roadster is going to include the SpaceX package. Now, respectfully, I don't think Tesla's worried about pricing out the people who put down a reservation for the base model. And I say that, again, in no malicious way whatsoever. But what I'm talking about there is look what happened with the Cybertruck, right? Everybody thought, Tesla told us it was going to be $70,000 for the tri-motor performance version, and the initial version out the door is close to double that for the equivalent, the Cyber Beast. And the range is nowhere near as good, but just talking pure price. Now, I know the financial figures are much higher than that, than even the Cybertruck situation when we're talking about the Roadster, but supercars are just in a different stratosphere in that regard, right? As for the price of the SpaceX option, if indeed it ends up being an option, you may very well be right. The thing is, though, for your opinion, my opinion, there's never been an option like this on a car before. So my thinking has always been that the extra $50,000 for the Founder Series Roadster means that it would include the SpaceX package, since historically speaking, a Founder Series Tesla includes every option. And in my mind, again, maybe just wishful thinking, $50,000 sounds right to me for the price of a thruster option package. As for the referral winners getting base models, well, the good news for the lucky winners like myself there is that the car that I won, the car in my account, specifically says Founder Series Roadster. So whatever is in the Founder Series, I was about to say Foundation Series, I've already retrained my brain for Cybertruck, but whatever's in the Founder Series Roadster is what I should get. Again, just to wrap this up, I'm so happy that this car is back on Elon's radar, but yet at the same time, as happy as I am about that, there are still so many unanswered questions about the next-gen Roadster. Believe me, Robert, when I say that I will do everything that I can to track down all of the answers to all of these unanswered questions between now and when the car finally goes into production, possibly at the end of next year. Realistically, I'm now looking, hopefully it's going to be early-ish in 2026. Thank you, Robert. Thanks to everybody that kindly took the time to call in. If you have something to say, something to ask, a good call, good question, you can send that to me via the Ride the Lightning hotline. Again, there are 2 easy ways you can call in. Refer back to the top of this segment when I gave you the instructions there. And with that, I will simply take a quick breather and then come back with your pro tip of the week and a bit more next. As for what's going on with me and my car, I'm looking forward to 2 weekends from now, there's a big Tesla Owners of Silicon Valley club event that I'm looking forward to. The weather's been nice. We'll see if it's going to hold, it's going to stick around, or if we're going to end up with more rain. But in any case, it's always good to see fellow club members, fellow owners from the area. There'll be, for sure, at least I'm sure, a couple Cybertrucks there, along with new Model 3. It's going to be a nice event. It's always a good time. If you have not explored your local Tesla Owners Club, if you've got one, I definitely encourage you to go to at least one event. Just go check it out. Go try it out. It's fun to talk Tesla with your fellow Tesla owners and enthusiasts. By the way, if you need an entertainment recommendation for this week, how about a video game for this one? Helldivers 2, available on PlayStation 5 or PC. This game's been blowing up since it came out. Gosh, it's only been 3 or so weeks, but it is just seeing some stratospheric success. Everybody's digging it. I haven't had a chance to get into it, but I hear so many good things that I want to play it now. So I thought I would mention it to all of you. It's a third-person, like team-based multiplayer shooter that got great reviews as well. It's not, it got great reviews and then it just took off. The gaming community has totally embraced it. So check that out if that is of interest. Let's do a pro tip of the week here. It comes from regular caller Damon in Northbrook, Illinois.
Hey Ryan, Damon out of Northbrook, Illinois here with a tip for any existing Tesla owners looking to buy a Tesla Model Y. We were fortunate enough to be able to take advantage of the FSD and free supercharging transfer. We took FSD from our 21 Model Y and free supercharging from our 2016 Model X and put them together in a new car, and it went awesome. It was really easy, just mostly through the app, a little help on the phone, but got it all in order before we placed our order. And one thing that I didn't know was a pleasant surprise is I was able to use my referral code to get loyalty points, which turned out to be 10,000 points, which 9,500 points buys you the acceleration boost, and the extra 500 I had left over let me get some storage cubbies. But what I really want to say is that that's the best value you can probably use those points for. The next tier down on things that you can spend your points on is a 9,000 credits for a wall charger, which is a $450 option versus the 2,000 of the acceleration boost. So definitely, if you have some loyalty points and you're getting a Model Y, then that's probably where you want to put them. But one thing I was hoping to share was that the new long-range Model 3 would be able to take advantage of this. But when I started looking around on the forums and stuff, it looks like that's not an option for the Highland Model 3 long-range, at least not yet, which might have something to do with the performance car not being released as of yet, because apparently it wasn't an option on the last-gen Model 3 long range until the performance car had been out for a little bit. So just some food for thought there, and hope that helps anyone who's buying a new Model Y. All right, well, thanks for all the hard work and wish you all the best. Looking forward to the next one. Bye.
Damon, this is a great suggestion. Thank you so much. I confess I hadn't really dug into the point to dollar value ratio on the loot box reward options, so thank you for doing that work. I agree that if you've got a long-range Model Y, you can't go wrong with the acceleration boost on that. I mean, I suppose the best reason I can think of for it to be so much quote-unquote cheaper, if you will, compared to the wall connector, is that it just costs Tesla literally nothing to do. They send your car a software update, and they're done. A wall connector physically costs them something. So thanks again, and by the way, I'm so glad to hear that your dog Zeus is doing well. For anybody that doesn't have the backstory, which is everybody, Damon sent me a really nice long message about how his dog Zeus had some health trouble, but he had heard me talk about the pet insurance that I use, which is Healthy Paws, because I had done a bunch of research after kind of getting a little bit burned on the pet insurance I had with Maggie, my boxer before Daisy. Anyway, Damon said it super worked out with Zeus, where, most important, Zeus is doing great now. But there were some big bills in there, and because he had the insurance, he was able to just green light all of the care that Zeus needed without having to worry about it, knowing that the insurance was going to cover it. So Damon was kind of calling me out on, in a super nice way of he knows that I make this podcast about Tesla, not about me. I try not to make it about me because you don't care about me, you care about the Tesla stuff, and obviously. But he said he was saying, oh, well, sometimes it's, it can help if it's nice to hear sometimes about your life because it can be helpful or it can be interesting. So I'm glad that that recommendation had, well, I don't mean quite literally paid off for you, Damon, even though it did, but that it worked out super well for your family and for Zeus. Hey, if anybody else out there has a good pro tip of the week, please send it my way. I would love to share it with your fellow Tesla owners and enthusiasts, and I'd love to add it to my own Tesla knowledge base that is always growing. I'm always looking to feed that Tesla brain of mine. So you can send in pro tips of the week the same way that you send in the regular Ride the Lightning hotline calls, which I gave you the call-in instructions for a little while ago. All right, before I get out of here, let me mention some friends of Ride the Lightning that I hope can be of use to you sooner or later, sometime down the line. I start with abstractocean.com. They've got so many great aftermarket Tesla accessories for all 5 currently in production Teslas, as well as Rivian too, the R1T and the R1S. So check them out, abstractocean.com. Maybe you want to grab the 4th generation tempered glass screen protector that uses the aluminosilicate glass, which is the same stuff that Corning uses for Gorilla Glass. It's custom fit, the whole thing. It ships with the installation frame, so it'll install nice and easily for you. And there's a lifetime guarantee if it's damaged in the line of duty. So that's one of their best sellers, is that 4th gen tempered glass screen protector. But they've got a ton of lighting kits, a ton of other neat stuff. Just check them out, abstractocean.com. Click on the vehicle that you own, and it'll show you all the products available for that vehicle. And then, when you have everything that you like in your shopping cart, use the coupon code RTLPodcast at checkout to get 15% off of your first order. That code again, RTLPodcast, all one word, no space in there. The snap plate, which you can get at everyamp.com/RTL, and use the coupon code RTL with that. That is the front license plate bracket that I very much recommend if you either want or are legally required to have a front license plate on your Tesla. I humbly encourage you to not use the one that Tesla gives you with your car, because it sticks to your car with an automotive tape that if you ever want to remove it for any reason, it's going to leave a nasty residue behind. It's going to be a real hassle to get off. I mean, it's just not going to come off cleanly. That's the end of it. So I like the snap plate because it's a very minimalist design. It's not like some big fat frame that's just, loud or in the way. It's like, no, it's a nice minimalist thing. And they have the 2 versions now. The regular snap plate that is safety optimized with breakaway features to sacrifice itself in a worst case scenario, like a parking accident or a car wash. But then there's the Snap Plate Plus, which is the opposite. It's strength optimized with hardened features for maximum strength. So both are made from recycled, made in the USA plastics with stainless steel reinforcements. Again, get yours at everyamp.com/RTL, and don't forget the coupon code RTL. Budget Safe Solar at budgetsafesolar.com. I kindly recommend/encourage you keep them on your short list of providers if you're considering a solar installation for your home or business, because they did my house and it turned out great, and I'm so grateful that I've got it, because now I know I have a lot of California listeners, not all of you, but a new bit of California information crossed my desk today, and that is starting January 1st of 2025, if you get a solar installation that I think it has to cost $30,000 or more, which if you have a smaller house, maybe it won't, but if your house is of decent size, it may very well, that come January 1st, that your property tax will be increased, like the value, the amount of the solar will be added on to your property tax assessment. So you're going to have to pay property tax on that, which is a bummer. So you could do your solar this year if you're in California and not be subjected to that starting in 2025. Anyway, budgetsafesolar.com, they also offer home battery storage no matter where you live, including the Tesla Powerwall. So check them out, budgetsafesolar.com. If you do proceed with an installation, I kindly ask that you use the referral code RTL. And Immaculate Reflections, the absolutely fantastic detailing service that's available here, the detail shop here in the greater San Francisco Bay Area. Whether you're doing paint correction, paint protection film, or ceramic coating, or some combination thereof, you want to get it done at Immaculate Reflections if you're here in the greater San Francisco Bay Area or going to be here with a car that you care about, whether it's your Tesla or a different vehicle that might be in your garage. There is a nice little discount waiting for any of my listeners that book in a service at Immaculate Reflections. So when you reach out, which you can do through the website, irdetailing.com, when you connect through there, just mention that you're a Ride the Lightning listener, and you will be given that nice little discount. Thank you so much to Immaculate Reflections for continuing to offer that to the Ride the Lightning audience. And finally this week, the Patreon. I mentioned it near the top of the show, but I'll mention it here one more time. This is a listener-supported podcast. It's your support is what keeps this going. I love doing it, don't get me wrong, but I do have a full-time day job. I have a family. I'm a dad. I'm a husband. And I love doing this, and I've done my best to work it into my life. I've kind of found a good balance for it, and I hope to be doing it forever. I really, truly do. But it's only able to continue thanks to your generous support. And the way to support is through Patreon. You can go to patreon.com/Tesla Podcast, and you can see all the different support tiers there, from the base tier, which is just $5 per month. And supporting at $5 per month will get you early access to each week's podcast. If you step up to that $10 per month tier, that'll get you the early access and get you all of those lightning round bonus mini episodes that I do each and every week on Patreon. And then the support tiers continue to go up from there, including the Maximum Plaid and Roadster in Space tier backers that get their names shouted out at the end of the show, like I'm going to do in a second here. And they get invited to every single one of the monthly Patreon Zoom Hangout calls, which we just had our most recent one this past weekend. And again, as it always does, the hour flies by. We have a great time talking about all things Tesla, just various topics. It's really been, I just look forward to that every month. It's just been so much fun. So if you're willing and able to support the podcast on Patreon, I would be humbled and grateful if you would take a look at my Patreon page if you haven't already. Again, you can find that at patreon.com/Tesla Podcast. If you're not already subscribing or following this podcast on your favorite podcast service, please do so. I'm on Apple Podcasts, which is where most of you statistically get it. I'm on Spotify, TuneIn, Google Podcasts. I think Google Podcasts is going away. I can't remember now. Anyway, the big one's Apple Podcasts, but then Spotify's in there too, and YouTube Podcasts. So the way to find me on any of those is just search Ride the Lightning Tesla, and you should find this podcast fairly easily. The referral code, if you need one, you'll get, if you use a referral code when you buy a new Tesla, you'll get 3 free months of FSD. So if you have somebody in your life already, by all means, please use their code. But if you just need a code, I'm here for you. You can use mine. It's ts.la/Ryan73014. What you do is type that into a browser on your desktop computer or on your phone, hit enter, and that'll take you to the Tesla.com landing page where you choose which of the 4 Teslas you want to order and configure it, order it, and when you submit that order, it will have the 3 free months of FSD baked into it, which will be activated for you upon delivery. You can follow me on X and or on Instagram. I have the same username on both, and that username is DMC_Ryan. You can email me anytime. My podcast email address is teslapodcast@gmail.com. And finally, I want to say hello and thank you to the Plaid, Maximum Plaid, and Roadster and Space Tier backers. I'll start with the latter group first. Thank you so much to Pete White, Lyle Austin, Steve Radspinner, Fernando Cordero, Lawton from Chicago, Sean Neidig, Neil Weaver, Jackson Wallace, Rolf and Jennifer Evers, Howard Anthony Smith, Victoria Iacovetto, Tesla Hitchhiker 42, Carol Weston, Robert from near Philly, Kristen Rumble, and American Home Contractors. Next up, the Maximum Plaid crew. Thanks very much to Jonathan Wales, Cameron Clark, Daniel Grummer, Seth Capello, Nick and Tony, the Galpin family, Ryan from New York City, Darren Nickel, Kaz Barnes, Brett Libano, Patrick Wisniewski, Gil Cabrera, Mark Eversole, Todd Badger, Joe Edgel, Kevin Yank, the Tesla Owners Club of San Joaquin Valley, Michael Williams, Will Stedman, Derek Nesselrote, Justin Perez, Jeremy Harris, Chris Beach, Tom Mills, Corey O'Donnell, Aaron, John Cody, Joel Sapp, Paul Casarino, I got one name ahead there, Richard Corley, Chris Osborne, KB, Doug Carey, James Gregory, Adam Lavoie, ContactOneCallCenter.com, Jason Chalukas, Travis Krenzel, Bruce Otterstein, Tom Behan, Josh Pennington, Matt Kalin, John from Cream Ridge, New Jersey, Sean Tisdale, Dustin Hart, Michael Gallo, and Derek Finley. Finally, a shout out to the grandfathered in Plaid level supporters. Thank you so much for your continued support to George Cassiopo, Logan Willis, Peter Chalet, Eric Randolph, Dory and Steve Guberman, the Tesla Owners Club of Taiwan, Ron Lee, Charlie Gillespie, David Perella, Dennis Peak, Jeff Angwin, Chase Cabanillas, the Lydia family, Aaron Altschul, Jared Brown, Jerome Strack, Jamie Dalton, Mike and Barbara from Louisville, David J. Howes, Matt Nixon, the Tesla Owners Club of Wisconsin, Ish, Not Elon Musk, Peter, and the Bear Boys of Colorado. And now I breathe a huge sigh of relief because I'm going to be honest with all of you. I thought I did a terrible job on this episode. The material was fine. The preparation was good. The execution was terrible this week. I am not happy with myself. And I forgive myself, don't get me wrong, because statistically, doing this every week, 52 of these a year, they're not all going to be good. I'm going to have weeks where, this week, I just had, marble mouth. I just had, a mush mouth going. I just didn't have good flow. I stumbled over a lot of words, which, if this was your first episode, I can at least tell you with some humility, but also the track record, you can go back and check if you want to. I'm not usually this bad, but this was just something about today. It was a stressful day at work. Maybe that's it. I did have a lot of stressful deadline stuff today, closing out the week. I don't know. In any case, I appreciate if you made it this far, you hung in this long. I appreciate you just for listening to the podcast at all. Hopefully you do most of the time enjoy it. Maybe this one, again, wasn't the best one, but got the information to you, even if it just didn't come out as cleanly as I would have liked. But with that, I will bid you farewell for another week. I will be back with a little mini milestone episode next week. 450. Episode 450 coming next week. That's a nice little mini milestone. Hopefully, my delivery and voice, everything will be smoothed out and cleared up by then. But until then, happy electric motoring, my friends, and I will see you back here next week.
I think a Tesla is the most fun thing you could possibly buy ever. That's what it's meant to be. Our goal is to make it's not exactly a car. It's actually a thing to maximize enjoyment. It's maximum fun.